Are you ready to take your show to the next level? Look no further than Podcast Base Plus, your all-in-one solution for video podcasting success. At Podcast Base Plus, we don't just film and edit your show. We offer a full service experience that sets us apart from the rest. With Podcast Base Plus, you can focus on what you love, creating exceptional content while we handle the technicalities behind the scenes. So why settle for anything less? Step into the future of podcasting with Podcast Base Plus. Elevate your podcast today. Visit our website or call to book now.
Yeah, that's a man's question, though.
I'm going to be honest. I think in the last couple of years, I haven't really been tuned in to sports like that. I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I only watch it when my team's in it. Tampa Bay, shouts out to them. We suck again.
It's got to be the worst now.
Yeah, well, but I think
I ain't no better though. I'm a Falcon, so I ain't no better. Ain't no better. We've been worse since Super Bowl, whatever.
You hear that reverb or something? Let's talk into it.
Yep.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Jamie Mike is Oh, so it's supposed to be that loud.
Your voice.
Oh. Okay.
We're just trying. I sometimes lose it up.
No worries.
I heard it.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you.
No worries. I guess I think sports was really good for me as a youth when I was coming up. My father wasn't in the house at that point in time, so for me to be around, especially having the male role models like coaches. Oh my God, coach was like they was one of the primary role models to get along with other I want to say I probably was like more insular, like I am now. I tend to be more introverted. So to be able to get around the guys and be able to build as a team, to develop leadership qualities, and of course your health. I think there needs to be more at this point in time. I'm looking at my son and he's not participating in sports right now, but I'm going to have to I'm going to introduce it to him. Not from, me trying to live.
Which sport?
I think I'm going to do swimming.
That's good.
Yeah. I just want him to get active, so I'll start him off with swimming. He likes that, so I don't want to,
That's good. Just cardio and everything.
Yeah,
I mean, that's good for the overall body.
Right.
Period. You know what I mean? It's funny, not just swimming. I was reading something about taking cold showers the other day and how well it does. It repairs the body. And I just thought that was phenomenal, but it's just that I just can't do it, man.
I'm gonna tell you,
a cold tub. I remember that in college, and I just can't do it, man.
Yeah, well, I could imagine for you in college, especially. I knew an NFL player. He said he soaks in the ice bath. He's retired, been retired for a while. He said he still soaks in the ice bath because his bones. Yeah, he said it gets to his bones. But the cold shower that you mentioned, I do it every morning, Monday through Friday. Fresh out the bed. That's
They said it's major benefits.
Listen, I haven't been sick, knock on wood, since.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It gets your body going. Now I'm ready to hit the gym. You know what I mean? So just fresh out Monday through Friday. But
what'd you do, 5 minutes, 3 minutes?
I do 3 minutes.
3?
Yeah, 3 minutes. It's just jump in and jump out. I'm telling you.
And listen, I got a story for you on that one, right? So the wife and I, we go out of the country every June for our anniversary, her birthday, right? So a couple of years ago, we went to Jamaica. Great, man. Yeah. We're on the resort, nice pool, heated, whatever. This previous year, 2022, she wanted to go over to Curacao.
Okay.
And so the resort was just built, right? But beautiful, looks beautiful, right? all kind of problems, obviously, when we get there. And so one thing I'm telling her is, it's dope. I got me a pool to my own room, so I can open up my door, just walk in my pool. You know what I mean? Poolside, right? I'm looking forward to this, right? So I'm like, yo, all this work this year and everything I've been doing, I'm getting ready to go hit it. Man, I went out there and put my foot in that thing. I was like, yo, what's this? This ain't Jamaica? You know what I'm saying? There's nothing like it. So we asked him, I said, yo, do y'all have heaters in the pool? Oh, no, it's heated by the sun. Heated by the sun.
Well, is it cold in Curacao?
And no, to them, they think it's hot. But to us, it was just like, it felt like 70s.
Okay.
So to me, I'm like, this
June?
In June.
Wow.
Yeah. And to them, it was hot. But to me, like, this ain't nothing. I'm from Florida. You know what I mean? So,
did you jump in the pool?
Oh, man, we tried it. I got pictures, man. We tried it every day. But it was like, that thing would pierce me to the soul, man. Like, I just couldn't do it.
It's a mental thing. Because even now, when I get up in the morning, I'm looking at it, and I'll look at, because I put my timer on and everything, and just, it's, you pump fake, like, okay, let me go do something real quick and come back in. But, overall, it's just to start the day off. What I heard was just start the day off doing something mentally challenging. And then also all the other health benefits of it. Your endorphins get going. The biggest reason why I'm doing it now is because of, I just feel like when I wake up, if I'm kind of stuffy or I feel like I'm coming down with something, by the time it's over with, it's all gone. So my sons got sick. A lot of family around me got sick. I never got sick, and I attribute it to the cold showers.
That's what's up.
You was a high school athlete, and you was a high school superstar when I got to Suncoast my freshman year. I believe that was your senior year.
Yep.
And you had, just speaking on coaches, you had the great Al Sutton.
Yeah,
that was there. So, I'd like to hear more about Coach Sutton, man, as your coach.
All of us still say multiple quotes. We still reminisce on some of the things that he would do.
Yeah.
These kids now, man, and the water that they have and the Gatorade that they have, man, we were drinking City Punch, bro, and didn't know nothing better. You know what I mean? If it had grass in it, you better drink it, So
I was happy.
And was happy to do it. Right. But Coach, in all of his wisdom for the game, he was serious about winning. Because up until they had a pretty decent year my freshman year, okay year my sophomore year, junior year, but up until our senior year, our name really wasn't prominent since the 92 class, you know what I mean, as far as football. And so our senior year was his retirement year.
I remember. Right?
He had to go out with a bang. And so we were dedicated to trying to do something. So we ended up having a pretty decent season and ended up going to the playoffs that year. First round playoffs against Miami Pace. We lost, real bad, whatever, and that was it. But the lessons from Coach were valuable, right?
Yep.
He didn't. One thing I knew about him, he didn't play with kids, and for him, you're a child, you better stay in a child's place. It doesn't matter how big you looked in your pads. I've seen him take big boys down.
We got to talk about how tall Coach Sutton was. Coach Sutton, because Coach Sutton
might have been 5'5", 5'6". Yeah, but those hands were like stone blocks.
Yeah,
chop you with his hands. You know what I'm saying? Push you with his hands, and he'd get out there sometime and demonstrate certain things. And man, he was strong. I mean, every day, if you would walk around the school, you would see him in the gym, doing bench presses. Every day you see him out on the track, walking the track, still trying to stay in some shape. So he was very serious about, his overall health at the time. But one thing he was committed to do, man, he was committed to making better young men, and he was committed to winning the game. It wasn't just some participation thing that we got out there to just do. If you weren't out there to win, you need to go, take your stuff down. He would say, if you messed around in practice and you were doing something that he didn't like, he'll tell you, take his stuff down, take his stuff off, and he say, tear the fence down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get up about it, right? And it was it was a valuable time in my life, for sure, for all 4 years, you know, just being around them. I remember being in 7th grade at Duncan Middle School, and assistant coach John Thompson.
I remember JT. Yeah.
He was driving buses at the time, and he came in one day. He was a sub bus driver for us, and I remember telling him, I told him in 7th grade, I said, hey, one day, real soon, I'm gonna be the starting running back for Suncoast. He laughed it all right. But once I started getting, you know, the name and doing different things, he was like, I remember you told me this. I said, you remember when, huh? Said, I told you I ain't come to play no games, JT.
Shout out to them. I almost feel like his because I was a freshman, so I didn't really get the experience you had because I was on the freshman of JV team. We had the JV team.
You got Coach
Gibbs. Gibbs was there, but Gibbs was like 29 or 30. You know, he was a younger guy, but to have someone like Coach, he reminds me like that old time coach. You know, I didn't experience him like you did. We got a little bit when he came in and said a couple words to us, but it was I think it's imperative to have those kinds of role models and males, you know, just amongst especially the youth. And that's not, you know,
we respected him though.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, you know, even then, it wasn't like guys were out there just slinging curse words around them like that. You know what I'm saying? It was respect, like. And just as I look at the time and as time has evolved with these young people, and they don't care whether it's a coach or not, you know what I mean? You could be an adult just on the street, and we talked about this before.
Yeah,
I would never curse in front of an adult.
Come on,
you know. Now when I was out with my friends,
like
a sailor, you know what I mean? You know, dropping F-bombs every other word. But when it was adult time,
come on,
any adult, you didn't have to be my mom or my dad, my grandma. You didn't have to be that. We had enough respect to say, all right, you know, it's an adult in our presence.
Right.
Not today. You know what I'm saying? But getting back to the question, what bit
of the sports?
So the view, I think
physical and mental health.
I think as far as the physical part, obviously, I think that all of us need it. I think with our genes, our DNA, you know, some of us stay small for a long time, but then you could be athletic, you know, your young life, and that's gone away. You know, I remember once I started getting towards my mid-30s, you know, I was always used to eating whatever I want and no weight. You know what I'm saying? No weight, come on. You know, I tell people, hey, we could get out on the track. I still dog you out right now in my 30s. And then I remember, you know, slowly but surely the weight was packing on, and I was like, I can't get rid of this. I can't shake it. I didn't know. Even in high school, I didn't like the gym. I was just naturally physically fast and strong, right? So I didn't really get into the gym until I went to college, you know, but I was like, you know, anytime the body it's adapted, you got to do something to shock it. So, physical wise, I think sports, even if it's just hitting the gym, is very important for male figures. Also females, you know, some kind of activity. But as far as the mental aspect, it depends, I believe, in what you're doing and who you're around, right? What coach, like you said, do you have? Because obviously we know in sports you learn character, commitment, and competence. And those are 3 great lessons that one can learn. So I think that it's extremely important to be involved in sports, for sure.
She telling us to go on.
Okay. I think that depends on what kind of guy you are, right? But it does go back to the gladiator days, obviously. You know, a lot of us, if you are a man's man, let me say that. Let me say that. A man.
Say it. Wilbur's not.
If you're a man's man, I mean, obviously, you know, we all know that masculinity is connected to certain sports, boxing, football, even basketball. I mean, I guess you could say soccer now too, the world football.
Right.
You know, people still downplay how big that is across the world. It's international.
America, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it's getting big in America too. They opening up that stadium in Miami. Beckham, His stadium, which I think is going to be crazy because we have such a huge South American population and European population here in South Florida. So I think
Caribbean too.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
it's a melting pot, right?
The perfect
especially in Miami.
Yeah. Perfect place to put out. I mean, they're gonna shoot down. It's gonna be nuts. I think. What to say? Masculinity. Sports has changed, in the way that they approach it. I know I had my son in soccer young, and even then you could start seeing it change, especially in regards to like the participation trophies, etc.
How'd you feel about that?
My son was really good. I think he was 4 or 5. I mean, he was really, really good at soccer. I felt as if they brought him down so that he didn't make the other kids feel good, look bad or whatever it was. And so he didn't, I think it kind of dampened, and this is just, this obviously this is just a one case study. It's like he didn't have the fire. When I was coming up, it was nothing wrong with a little bit of healthy competition.
Absolutely.
I mean, sometimes, don't get me wrong, sometimes I think we took it too far. I remember having a couple of, confrontations on the basketball court,
but that's what it is. That's our attitude. It's competition. We want to win.
Yeah, we wanted to win, and so
I proved that we were the best at what we were doing.
But I remember us having those conflicts, and then it was smooth sailing afterwards.
Absolutely.
Right, like we would have the conflict, and then you'd have somebody else, probably an older kid or more wiser kid, wisdom. It'd be funny at the first point. But then you be out playing with each other the next day, after you calm down. Like, it was squashed at that point. So I think that having that healthy competition, having outlets, especially for men, is very, very...
Release that testosterone, right?
Release the testosterone. So you have that healthy competition amongst men, but now look, where you're not able to release this emotional... I don't want to call it aggression, but release the testosterone, etc. Like, look what happens now. It has to be released some kind of way because it has to still be there, and I think it ends up being played out down a different path.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I think healthy competition back in the days was really good, but also when it was healthy competition, right? Even though we were trying to outdo our partners, friends, teammates, whoever it was, it also helped make us better at what we were doing, right? I think when we were coming up, we understood there had to be a winner and there had to be a loser.
Yep, absolutely.
It's no everybody wins kind of thing. No. Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. And, me and my crew, Ant, Danny, Rod, Scott, all of us, none of us like to lose at anything. I mean, this rolled over from the football field onto the PlayStation back. We would go to Lake Park and be on the PlayStation playing 2K and all the games, you know what I'm saying? And nobody wanted to lose. So we all had the attitude of, I'm gonna win. Some of us are still like that today, you know what I mean? We feel like we can go out and run a 40 and you talking, in our 40s, like, I'm gonna still whoop you, or we go out on the golf course, Top Golf, and you know what I'm saying? And we competing at that. I mean, we just went to Top Golf a couple months ago, and we were out there competing on it, like, hey, you better not lose, you better not healthy competition. But all of us want some kind of, I think men were built in particular with having a sense of accomplishment, right? They need that, right? They need that. They need that because it sets the trajectory of their lives as well, right? Where you can start building on certain things in your life and going from one place to another. And we don't have anything to gauge on. We're just wandering around aimlessly.
I agree. I was listening to a rabbi talk about, he was saying something about one of men's worst fear. They say we come from the dust is to return to the dust. And when I say dust, I mean nothing.
Yeah.
You come from nothing and then you return to nothing. Like, we know Ecclesiastes talks about everything being vanities, but while you're here, you want to at least have a purpose, and our purpose is to create.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is to be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that success, that goes a long way into successes.
Yeah, I agree 100%. What's next? I think every man does it in different ways. You agree?
Absolutely.
Everybody's not going to take it the same. And I do believe we dialogued about some men trying to cover it up.
Right. So what do you do? What did you do? What did you do?
In my young days, I just tried to make up for it by going out to go find something else. You know what I'm saying? It, make it seem like to everybody else, it didn't faze me. So why not just go find somebody else or be with somebody else or whatever. In my young life, my wife and I at our early stages, man, we not separated, but she got angry, left, whatever. And I remember this before I changed my life, right? So I remember getting on my knees and asking the Lord, hey, if you bring her back home, I'll do whatever you want for me. But it affected me. I wasn't eating, you know what I mean? Couldn't really think, because I really was, and I am in love with my wife. So that right there was a different effect. But, again, I look at how it happened with my wife versus my young years, teens, early 20s, and how it was, just a flyby with others. But with that one, it was an effect. And that could have been possibly because that was my soulmate.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was a piece of me being torn from me, and I felt it, So coping with it wasn't good because I stayed up late at night, didn't eat, just mind wandering all the time. So it affected me pretty bad, for sure, because it was something that I wanted to work. And it wasn't there. So yeah, I was done for at the time, what I'm saying? So at that time I didn't know what else to do but to drop on my knees and say, Lord, if you do this,
you show up. Yeah.
Lord, if you do this, you know what I mean?
But do right.
I'm gonna be right by you, you know what I mean? And so ever since then, my life has changed, and I've been doing what I've been doing. So every man, I assume every man is going to be somewhat different, though, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think it's a maturation process as well. The first time, similar situation for me, regards to heartbreak, and just didn't know, you know what I mean? Like, I guess didn't know where to go and didn't necessarily have that guidance. You don't want to, I guess, not to look soft in front of people in regards to that. So I'm sure there's probably a lot of good women that I'm left behind. As I mature, though, man, I don't know. I guess I found, and this is when I'm thinking about my purpose and my vision. I just dug deeper into that, dug deeper into my purpose, dug deeper into my vision, more so dug deeper into my relationship with my higher power. So for me, it was like, once I got that, because I felt like I needed to be alone. You know what I mean? I was one point in time, or not alone, but not with someone, not in a relationship with someone in that point in time.
Needed time to find you.
Yeah. Well, not to dig deeper into me. I always knew who I was, but to dig deeper and get connected with myself and have that relationship. So I think right now, what I would tell people, if that were to happen, is definitely as a man to dig deeper into your vision. Well, first off, I think they need to figure out if that's the one, right? And if that's the one, you absolutely need to get on your knees and pray and go get them, because
how many brothers have missed out on that opportunity because of pride?
Plenty.
Because of pride, you know what I mean?
Plenty. You still got men talking, and women too. I mean, but you still have men talking about the one that got away.
Yeah.
In that respect, because they weren't mature enough for it. They didn't know how to handle it. No one essentially taught them, you know what I mean? Or how to, I think one of the things is a conflict in having that mentor, that older person, and that community surrounding you, to kind of put you up on game as to how to treat a woman.
Yeah.
And what there is, and especially a good woman, and there's not too many of that around. I'm going to tell a lot of men, I got a 95-5 rule. So 95%, just let them go on and be. 5% is decent. And then you have that 1% that's just to the next level.
Yeah.
And that 1%, I don't know what you're going to do, brother, because, it's 1% of women. That 5%, you get the decent woman, 5% of women are decent. 95%, they're not for you.
Yeah. Well, I agree. The thing about it is most of them think they are the 1%.
God bless them.
Don't kill them, all right? Don't kill them.
No, God bless them. You know what? results tell you everything. You know, the results tell you. I had a conversation in regards to this. I know we're getting off topic, but I had a conversation in regard to this. Oh yeah, don't kill us. Yeah, I'm shutting up.
Don't kill us. Don't kill us.
Next question.
Next. It's a pride thing. Ego and pride. But to work towards it, it has to be something within them, or something that says, I want love. I don't think a lot of young fellas right now, young gentlemen, let me say that. I ain't even gonna say young. There's a lot of guys out there right now that are not what they say. I'm not ready for love. And what I mean by that is, there's a lot of guys out there that's saying, I ain't ready for full-time commitment. And so it has to be something, it got to be a willingness, man. If it's not a willingness to overcome that and to put aside, that's maturation, right? So me coming into a place and saying, I want to love, or, you know, I know I used to be this way. I know I used to play the field. I know I used to run the game. I know I used to be city boy. You know what I'm saying? It has to be something that say, I'm tired of it. Has to be. And if that's not in place, then the barriers ain't going anywhere. It's the same game gonna repeat over and over and over again. Period. You know, you remember that movie, What Do Women Want? The question
was when the one that were talking
all the time.
Listen to what it was.
So my question is, do men know what men want? And I would say there's a great portion of us that don't. Almost like your 95-5 rule.
Listen, that 95-5 rule, it crosses different topics and is in different contexts. So just overall, most people don't know what they want. Most people don't know their values.
Yeah.
Like their deeper values, and they're being controlled by society. So when they do get something that society tells them that they want, and then they get it, then they looking empty and trying to figure out something else. Like how did I get into it? This question, I think men, and I'm just gonna go with some of the numbers, because it's like 60% of men are childless. They're in the middle class.
60%?
60% are child and single.
Wow.
Are considering themselves single. 80% of the men aren't even involved in any sexual or relationships, or sexually or otherwise. You know what I mean? Like they're and I think a lot of these men are looking for it. The issue is that 80% of women are going after the top 10 to...
Gonna bring some Kevin Samuels in this
10
one.
to 20. It's not Kevin Samuels. It's Census Bureau. This is information. So that he just provided. He made it, you know, blow up because of the way that he delivered. Yeah. And so he made it a way to, but it brought this light to where a lot of brothers is out here like, this is not, this is how I was feeling, because I think the narrative is slightly skewed. I do think men tend to romanticize it more than the women do nowadays.
Women, so?
Yeah, absolutely. So now you're coming from a prospect, because from a perspective of, like I said, when I got to high school, you was the man. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
I'm saying.
I'm just saying. So you coming from being a man, like, and we talking about high school, but there's something in there. So you had more options.
Yeah.
So and then you had ambition.
Yeah.
So you have more options. I mean, you're a pastor now. You can't be a pastor without being somewhat influential and have a successful ministry and not be somewhat influential. So even as a pastor, that's what you got options.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a bad looking man myself.
Yeah.
So I
good looking dude.
I appreciate that, bro.
On that inflex.
So I have certain options.
Yeah.
I come from a line of city boys. I laugh with my father and uncles all the time. Like, but y'all city boys, you know what I mean? This is where they come from. So when I was coming from that perspective of it, it was just like, when I heard these stuff, I'm like, man, ain't no way. Like, it's out here and it's plentiful. Like, women are here plentiful, etc. Like, this is just not. I didn't think it was going on. When you start to actually open your eyes So then I started seeing some cousins. I'm just like, they never, but and good dudes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I could, you put somebody with, but I'm like, nah, I'm scared because this person he gonna be one of these people that's upset. So it's better for him to stay alone and single because he don't want to put up with it. So I think a lot of men are looking for it now, but they don't necessarily have the clarity. And that's why you have all these people trying to teach them stuff. When we talk about Kevin Samuels, he initially was just talking to straight men. Men was trying to figure out, like, how can I not get women? This was like far-fetched to me because as coming up, I was, you're taught how to speak to women and you had to learn. And if you weren't, then they were looking at the people that we were surrounding ourselves with.
Right.
However, there's a whole other subsection. If you go back, you probably don't even remember them in school that, just went to school and nobody paid attention to them.
Of course.
But to answer this question fully, like, how can men work to overcome barriers and fears that prevent them from experiencing love fully? A man has to learn to love himself. And I think it's the same thing on the women's side of it. But for men, you have to learn, if you love yourself and you value yourself and you know what you're worth. I saw your video the other day. We were talking about the value that you provide. And you understand the value that you provide. Then you can go out there and you can go into these waters uninhibited because you know what you're bringing.
Absolutely.
But when you don't know what you're bringing and you're left to validate outside of yourself, ultimately, that's going to lead to you always figuring out, like, what's she doing? Or what's going on over here? Or the scarcity mindset. Oh, I'm nothing. So if she leaves me, I'm nothing. Nah, when you figure out, like, okay, I'm who I am. I appreciate you, and we're gonna appreciate each other in this situation. And as long as we keep that, and then you have set your standards of this is how I'm living. That some brothers got some really low standards. So once you set your standards and saying, okay, well, she needs to have these top 3 things. You know what I mean? Like, these are deal breakers for me. Anything else is just gonna add to it. So for me, I think if she's nurturing and supporting, if she's spiritually connected, if she's family oriented, you know what I mean? Like those 3 things, then you can kind of look past, and then you can look past a lot of things.
Yeah.
Now you're not just searching for what social media tell you or whatever media tells you what beauty is, because a lot of dudes fall into that trap. Oh, she's so good looking. Well, just because she's good looking doesn't mean that she's good.
And that's another whole conversation, right? Because everybody puts their best picture up. Everybody puts the best pose up, right? Everybody is already
the BBLs.
Right. And so now this thing is starting to feed us a false narrative.
Right.
That everybody out there is better than potentially what you have or whatever.
Right.
And we got to wisen up on that as well. You know what I'm saying? Because I think, could that be another barrier? Are you basing it on...
I'm not saying no. I'm saying absolutely.
Yeah.
Like a lot of, I was joking. I said, man, for about a month straight, I thought it was Drake. Like for a month straight, I thought it was Drake. But it's like, that's absolutely it. Because you're looking and you're saying, well, this is what I'm seeing. And then you go outside and you think it's supposed to be this way, or even the way that, for me is mostly, that mental, that the thought process, and you're having these conversations. And I think I saw someone saying that people, even in real life, they trying to swipe right or swipe left, like right there in your face.
In your face. Yeah.
But you get to understand energy. But once again, if a man is not fully and I would tell it to a woman, if the man is not fully understanding who he is, what he brings to the table, and he has certain standards, then a lot of women should be aware of that themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what though? Even when you talk about overcoming a barrier though, that's gonna be some maturation. It's gonna take some time for maturity. Like you said, he has to know and love himself.
Right.
And then once that happens, that confidence has to kick in as well. Like you said,
absolutely.
Right? He has to know who he is. And if he doesn't know who he is, like you said, he's gonna always wander aimlessly. He doesn't know if he's a high value dude or a low value dude, right? And so people who are low value or whatever, they just kind of fall for any old thing.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And we can liken that to, people shopping for goods today. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't know what, nice, good food is. Let me go to steak. All steak don't taste the same.
Right.
You know what I mean? There are great qualities of cuts of steak. And, let's be real. Winn-Dixie steak don't taste the same as let's be for real now. Right, I mean, right. It doesn't, I need quality, right? Yeah. But when we are so enamored with just going out and getting what we feel like we can afford, right? We can afford this. Oh, let's take that to a brother. Maybe you don't think you can afford that, this sister or whatever. And I'm not just talking about materialistic buys, right?
Right.
But you've undervalued yourself, right? What dictates that you can't, but again, we live in a world now where cheaper is better for most people. And I live by the standards, you do get what you pay for. Because you do. You get what you pay for sure. You can get some cheaper quality products, and they may do you well and look good for a while, but eventually, and not long, it don't take long for them to wear out, be broken. Take that to batteries. It's the reason they call old buddy Energizer Bunny, and he keep going and go get you some of them Volt batteries or whatever they call them, no-name batteries, man. I remember putting some in my remote, the other day, and I was like, I just put these in. And man, it wasn't
ran through the whole pack.
2 weeks, they were gone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But you get what you pay for. So going back to a brother, if he doesn't know who he is and have confidence in that he can go out there and say, hey, you know what, I can be good for you, or you can be good. And now, don't get me wrong, all of us ain't for everybody.
Absolutely.
All of us are, there's some toxic relationships out there that we haven't deciphered, and some things that we're calling love that are not love at all, right? It's lust. And a lot of us, we can't decipher the difference between lust and love. But people overcoming barriers and fears that can prevent them, it's a growth thing. And it's also a place where I want to get better, or I want to fully experience love, right? But some of us don't know what we want, going back to that conversation. And because we don't know what we want, we can always sit out there and say, yeah, I know I want this, but what have you done to take the necessary steps to go get that? You still playing the field? You still running, you know what I mean? You still doing your thing, because
it's too easy though. That is so right. It's interesting because ultimately a man has to take accountability for everything. Like, you got to take accountability for what it is, and then you do have to set up that vision of what you see in your life want to be, etc. But intimacy has been lost. There's certain values that the women don't necessarily have these days. You know what I mean? Like it's not being taught, and you say that there's a growth process, and I understand that. It has to be taught. I think to be around loving,
and we've lost that.
Yeah. To be around a loving family, to be around, so you can actually see what that looks like. Because if you never seen what that looks like, or you have just a different view on what it looks like, I don't want to say distorted, but a lot of people haven't seen it. If we're saying 70% of, especially in our community, is not married, 70% of children are being raised in single parent households, to not necessarily see it, and to see, if they say most of the kids I think 95% of them go with the mother, the mother's having different guys in and out of the house, or being introduced to the kids, or, because mothers ultimately, at least if you're decent, you're looking for a stepfather or something. You know what I mean? Like, if you're decent, I hope that's not too harsh. But a decent woman is going to be looking for a stepfather if she's no longer going to be with the father, or the father's not in the life. So what kind of man is she bringing into the household for that man to see? Because now for us, even to go into somebody else's household, or to talk to males and tell them between the ages of 18 and 30, and we only have this limited time with them, to explain to them what it is that they should be looking for in regards to love. They're not trying to hear that. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to experience.
Yeah. I'm trying to
let me go out here and live, right?
And these young ladies is have no problem with experiencing it with them at this time. And so they get caught up into some toxic situations real quick. I was in a relationship straight out of high school. I didn't know what I was doing or what I, you know what I mean? Like, it was just where I came up with this identity, and she was a good young lady as well. But the communication I was just very, very immature. I didn't know where to look for that kind of, to see what it was. Right. You know what I mean? So
you didn't have a blueprint.
Yeah, there was no blueprint. Yeah. TV probably. Or your older homies, and they, you know, they 24, 25, and they doing, you seeing what kind of crazy stuff going on. So I think to have that, you know, like, we need more stuff like the Cosby, you know, I'm just naming the Cosby's show because that was something that coming up as we grew up. Good. Yeah, we was growing up and seeing that mother, that father, successful relationship, and that to be presented. Mm-hmm. I was thinking today, in regards to just good women, and we're saying that this narrative is, you know, we're this type of culture, and I think part of it is that we're not bigging up a lot of the great women, like your wife, and her sticking by you, and you all being in that relationship for 19 years, like that woman should be put on a pedestal all the time. We should be talking about that. It would be nice to hear like someone like Beyonce, who is married and has kids with this man, to be talking more about her family, you know, being in a successful, what it takes to raise a successful, in a successful relationship. Here's one of the most overlooked people is, and I guess because a lot of these women don't really look to be in the spotlight, was LeBron James' wife, Savannah.
Oh yeah, Savannah.
Like, I mean,
Angela Bassett.
Yeah, Angela. Yeah, like
they've been married for a
long time. Yeah. So
in Hollywood.
Yeah, Denzel in Hollywood for a long time. So we need to kind of stop talking about some of these other people and characters and being outraged by what this person is doing because they have their own situation going on. Especially, you mentioned Hollywood, Hollywood, and start putting these other women on a pedestal. You know, when them women come around, like, they shouldn't have to pay for anything. They should be given that their just due, because for women to stick with men and to help and to be the helpmeet and all that other stuff, like, we need to give them the utmost due. You know what I mean? That's greatness to me.
You know, and it's always good to give them their flowers. Yeah. Right. So I definitely shout out my queen all the time, man. How she holds it down. Mom, you know, first lady. Employee of the district. Yeah. You know, just many hats, and she's great at all of them. You know, so I'm saying if I was put in her capacity, I don't know. You know, because you got to deal with me. You know what I'm saying? You got to deal with me. You know, I'm coming home like, yo, I got to deal with this person, and that person, this, and I got this going on, and I got that going on. You know, I got all of this going on, so she got to put up with me. But I mean, we've been doing ministry now 11 years, and we've been successful at it. You know, our marriage is great. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, for her to stand through it thick and thin, because she takes a lot. You know what I mean? You know, people because of who we are, instead of people getting to know who we are, they'd rather assume who we are from afar. And so, of course, you know, whispers and stuff like that. But, you know, she's a high value sister.
I cheer it on, brother. Yeah, I say I give him your wife good, because we've been doing this for a while now. So I kind of, you know, you similar to me in regards to, I can understand the regimen and just be taking the world on your shoulders as you do. But for the woman who's supporting that, like, you have to give them that just due. This is going above and beyond.
Oh yeah.
What I would call, you know, what people call quote unquote mothers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And give all mothers due, you know, all due respect. However, I'm not celebrating that.
Yeah.
I celebrate greatness.
Yeah.
And so when I see women who do that stuff and go through that, they don't, you know, because they can have a lot of women have every excuse in the world as to why they need a divorce or why they need to get away or what, you know, whatever. They have every excuse in the world. But when you do these things in spite of, you know what I mean? That is to be celebrated.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, I got a good one. I do.
Absolutely.
I said, girl, I've been with you for half of my life. We don't go.
Ain't going nowhere.
I'm going nowhere. And I mean, in this 21st century, I mean, I know we're dealing with Mrs. Independent now. And so I think though a man cannot define himself based off of role and responsibility.
Okay.
A man has to know his purpose in order to be successful in any facet of life. If he doesn't know his purpose and he bases himself based on roles, when roles change, then that man becomes depressed. He comes down. You understand what I'm saying? Because we have went from living in the cave age, where the man was the provider, right? And I was talking about this on another podcast show. I did a Facebook Live where we don't understand where that comes from is because the way that we were made, both male and female, the man had to go out and hunt for the food, right? He had to go out and he put his life on the line every day. And so when he came home, he stayed out most of the day. So the only thing he wanted to do was eat and have sex, right? Okay. So his role was to provide and to protect. Right. And so that woman, her role was to nurture, right? And to feed that man and his family. And so she was good with her role and he was good with his role. But here's the thing, right? Now that time has evolved and we're no longer in, 23 BC. You understand what I'm saying? Now that the roles have switched, because you have women who can go out there and say, I'm bringing home the bag too. Just because you bring home the bag, that don't mean nothing. I can bring home a bag too. Mm-hmm. If a man has based his value on his role, he's going to lose it. He has to know his purpose in life. If he does not know his purpose, he's going to fail every single time. So I believe that the man has to know his purpose to deal with the pressure to fulfill. And again, it depends on who you're with, because we're with a lot of people who don't believe in traditional gender roles anymore.
They say that.
I ain't got no problem. I ain't got no problem. And some people call that old school, but I think it's okay. I don't mind providing for my family. I don't mind going out and making, whatever I got to do to make it happen for my kids, my wife. That's my job. You know what I mean? But that's not what I solely base or get a high from. Was just, because they ate, or they're able to go on, a trip, or we're able to do a party, or whatever it is. I'm not just, I don't get a high off of that. You know what I mean? I take care of mine because mine takes care of me. But I also know that my purpose here in the earth supersedes just providing for my family. Supersedes that. My purpose is far beyond that. And I guess that's a whole nother show, but right. You know what I'm saying? If a man has pressure to fulfill a traditional gender role, it depends on who he's with, because who he's with may not like traditional, or who he chooses may not like traditional roles. And if she doesn't like traditional roles and that's all you can get off on, then brother, you're going to fail every single time. The pressure then is going to crush you if your identity is solely built in your gender role.
I think it was perfectly said, brother. The only thing I would add to it is there's a lot of talking versus what it actually is.
Yeah.
And what I've seen is that a lot of people purport to be we went to the stats, like women not making money like that, especially in the Black community. Black women are like the lowest paid.
They cut our sisters, yeah.
Of any demographic. They're not even as educated as it purported to be. Black women tend to be the most enrolled into colleges.
Okay.
But they don't graduate. And then don't get me wrong, like I said, and these are just the numbers. This is the Census Bureau.
I'm down with the numbers.
Okay, so yeah. So that being said, and
interesting though.
I think women and even some men are being sold a fake bill of goods. I get it. Like, I know we're not in the caveman days. I'm not telling anyone they need to be. The women definitely should have choices, more choice than what they have. I can't even imagine, back when they felt like they couldn't do anything. or they weren't, or they told they couldn't do anything, or they were thought of as property. Like I didn't even grow up in that time.
Right.
I don't think most Black men even understand what it is. Now, don't get me wrong, you got some dudes that's very abusive, both financially and physically and verbally and emotionally. I don't necessarily think that is the, and someone would have to show me some numbers otherwise, that this is en masse what goes on in the household. For so long, men have been the breadwinners. I think, so now you get to contribute, or women can contribute, and I get it. I definitely believe where they say a woman shouldn't necessarily have to contribute if she wants to, if you want her to be in her most feminine. Like that's what they say. I don't. That might be the case. However, if there's no pressure with me, because the thing is that what are you telling me? Like, okay, cool.
Beat me down?
Huh?
Yeah. Are you beating me down?
Right.
Yeah.
What are you saying? Like, okay, cool. You should go to work then. Okay, go to work then. And I'll go to work. Are you like, what are you contributing at that point? If I'm still supposed to pay all the bills, like, how do people come together and make this collaboration work? I think it's been so easy for men. Let me say that, because these things are the times are changing. I don't think we're changing. We've evolved, but the times are changing. So we're starting to see a lot of different perspectives, and some of them alternative lifestyles tend to be blown up because of who's in control of the media, or what the media tends to put out.
Of course.
So that being said, me personally, I think if you're within my household as a man, I'm still gonna think, protect.
You're gonna hold it down.
Provide, lead. I think we should add something else, just because of the times where we come from in Western culture, is also to heal, because there's a lot of healing. So that healing is patient. So it comes with a lot of patience, attempting to understand exactly all this hurt and all this trauma that's being built up within what we have. But we need to kind of read in between the lines. We have to figure out, I know she says this, but you have to, as a man, have to really understand really what she's saying. Like, what is she really saying? Because like I said, I've seen it where I'm this boss thing. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Then have a child and be like, I don't want to go back to work no more. I don't want to do this. So you have to be prepared for those certain situations. So as a man, just plan it out. But as far as what you said, if you understand your purpose and where you're headed, then everything else, now you can find a partner that will be more likely to collaborate with you. And the ones who can't necessarily communicate it, they probably gonna get left out of the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Good stuff though. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. I definitely knew that. Well, we got to get back on the front line, right? The crazy thing is, right, we don't, I know they say it, but we don't have the Malcolms and the Martins anymore, right?
Why? Because they got shot down.
Well,
right.
I'm with you on that, right? And so I love the Malcolm X story, period. I love his story. I'm watching him on Godfather Harlem right now as well, right? And so, they after him, right? Everybody's after him. But I do believe somebody has to be raised up, or we have to raise up together and take the front lines again to say enough is enough. We have to demand our equality when it comes down to social justice. And we have to hold the government, the police departments accountable for what they're doing, but responsibility also in our young men, right, and women with some of the things that they're doing, right? They put themselves at risk. We know the times that we live in. We have to make sure that we're trying to educate our children on how to handle themselves, and what they're doing out in the streets. And I kind of hoard over. I got, my son, he's graduated from college, but my daughter's they're somewhat green, You see what I'm saying? And so I kind of hoard over them a little bit because they're green and people, you know, they don't understand game. But I do believe as black men, we have a responsibility to show them the way, you know, so to speak. But what we need to do, what we see in this world, I don't see enough Malcolms no more. I say Martin. I love Dr. King. You know what I'm saying? But Malcolm was that dude.
I mean, you got the minister.
You know, he was that dude, and we don't see that anymore. Whether it's Brother Sharpton, Jesse Jackson.
But you got the minister. You got Farrakhan out there who does it.
He aging out.
Yeah, he's aging out. I think. So it's twofold, right? I think we're running and that's why I always caution about being around people who don't necessarily have a rule and guide. You know what I mean? Nothing based on principles, because there's a lot of what is it? There's a lot of it's like cowboys and Indians. Like everyone,
Wild West.
Yeah, it's the wild, wild west. So everybody wants to be this and everybody wants to be that, and they have platforms where they in their minds they can be that, you know, by being this influencer, etc. But we have to. I think a lot of men have to humble themselves. I guess that was one of the great things about Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King was he was able to bring a lot of egos together and lead.
Yeah,
because you had who at the time? It was him. It was Jesse Jackson. You had Sharpton. Probably what's the name? Lewis. Yeah. You had a bunch.
They were young.
Yeah, they were young, but he was able to
bring all of that.
You know, he was able to head. Yeah, able to head that, and you had other people. Elijah Muhammad had Malcolm. He had Lewis. He had a bunch of different guys up underneath him, and they were able to have that. So who do we have that's going to step out and lead? It's a slippery slope, but once again, it has to be.
I'm with you though on the ego, right? Because when one, you know, and even in his group, a lot of what we don't hear are some of the people in his circle that actually did hate on him. We don't hear about those stories.
Right.
He did have a lot of behind the scenes hate in his own circle.
Absolutely.
And so same thing today though, right? We don't want one brother to get more accolades or more attention than the next brother. But I do believe, you know, based on this question, we need to unify and all step up in some way, some form, because, you know, we are living in treacherous times. I mean, it's crazy right now. The thing about it though is it's not gonna get any better right now though. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, and I hate to go off the deep end. You know, when biblical prophecy unfolds, it unfolds. There's nothing you can do to change it, right? At the end of the day, we understand that as time winds out or winds up, that times are gonna get a little harder. You know what I'm saying? And things are gonna change. People are gonna, you know, take heed to their own doctrines and own belief systems and things of that nature. And
so they have doctrines. I think they just
do whatever.
Yeah, they wake up and say, "This is how I feel. This is an exception to the rule. This is how it goes." So I think that goes back to the point of that happening. But the line, I mean, I'm aligned with you. We have to step up as men. We have to. Here's one of the good things about I think that's going on. I actually think things are going to get better, and I think because there's a lot of old, what's the word? A lot of things that are being pulled down, old thought processes. Because remember, at one point in time, because we did have the Martins, the Malcolms, etc., and then they from like 1989, it seems to me, and I'm just throwing out a number, guys, so forgive me, but it's around that time up until now, it was the entertainment and athletic industry complex they gave us those hero leaders. Well, no, Muhammad Ali was fit. Muhammad Ali was, remember, Muhammad was underneath Elijah too, so Elijah garnered a lot of those people.
They stood for social justice,
right?
Though.
But 1989, I'm talking about Jordan. I mean, when you think about who were your childhood heroes, we weren't saying Malcolm or whatever. We were saying Michael Jordan, We were saying Emmitt Smith, Deion Sanders, Bo Knowles, Charles Barkley was saying he didn't want to be a role model. And even up until this time, like a lot of people looked, and now it's rappers, you know, so people are talking about Future. They talking about Lil Uzi or, you know, a bunch of these, you know, a lot of these different rappers, Drake and all that. Like these are the people who these people aspire to be, aspire to look up, young thug, aspire to be, and they look up to, and those are the heroes, right? And they're not necessarily, and those heroes aren't necessarily really talking about anything social justice. And then you did have some, but then those people are made to look crazy. Yeah, like a lot of people you see that, oh, they crazy. So we have to take back in regards to figuring out, you can't give us who our heroes are, or you can't give us our heroes in the light that you want them to be. Like when we hear about Martin Luther King, we just hear about, I had a dream. Yeah. And there was a lot of other, there's a lot more to it, but it takes digging, right? So I think as men and men of understanding and knowing and getting to this point of maturation, that we can do it. And then also don't be afraid to give it to the young people and let them run with it.
Yeah, instead of holding them back.
Holding them back. Yeah. That's what I thought happened in 2020. I think in 2020? No, it was 2019. When did Trump leave office? It was he left office 2021. So in 2020, when did 2020
next year.
Yeah, 2020.
Elections.
Yeah, but he became.
He was out in 2020.
Yeah, 2020 was his last year. January something is when Joe Biden took over. I thought the young people were doing a pretty good job with the George Floyd and all those different marches. Like it was like headed in a place where, okay, these young people is going somewhere. They got something to say, and then it was just hijacked real quick. Like in between what was it, Jennifer? Probably August and November. If you paid attention, well, I paid attention. It's like, wait a minute, they just hijacked this entire. Then all of a sudden you see the Al Sharptons and all these people jumping. I always say the people who used to march with Martin Luther King. All of a sudden they jumping out. They're telling you exactly what needs to happen and how it needs to happen. The entire Black Caucus is doing this, and now y'all kneeling with Nancy Pelosi in African garb on the thing, and like this is what we started seeing. So it was so that their entire movement was hijacked, and then y'all telling us that Ice Cube, who was fighting for a certain thing, had a whole document and was seeking out Dr. Claude Anderson and was seeking out, you know, what we should do. All of a sudden, it just started splitting. Yeah. To where all of a sudden, Ice Cube of all people, he being bought by Trump. Ice Cube? Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that. I know he's rich. I know he networks with whoever he networks with, but we're talking about him putting forth something, all of a sudden he was made to look like a negative. So we have to stand up and say, okay, well, listen, we're going to, as men, stand up. We're going to not allow people, or, you know, so-called, what do they call them? I love you all too, but they call them our, not affiliates, what do they call the people who are attached to us? The allies. Oh. Yeah. All of a sudden, we got all these
allies.
We got allies. No, and we appreciate it, but don't tell the community what it is that they want, or who they should be looking up to, or who's bad and who's good. Like I saw a lot of that going on back in 2020, where they were telling us, telling people, you know, like this, you know, this person, he ain't got your good in mind, or this person. Then even the divide and conquer, because Ice Cube had an agenda. And all of a sudden they were like, well, what about the women? There's nothing in there for the women. And I remember one time he was like, well, if y'all want to add something to it, add something to it. But I was just saying to make this, you know, we just want something for our, you know, quote unquote vote. Yeah. But you know, but when you start to give up your vote freely, like it's just, they don't have, like, you don't have to cater to you. And then even some of the stuff they was putting out to garner our attention, back yourself up to the vote. Take it to, you know, the stripper pole, like how they're talking to us. I mean, I thought it was insulting personally, but, you know, everybody didn't necessarily feel that way. But to answer that question, definitely, we have to, and I think we've been saying this probably since day one. It's like a lot of good brothers, a lot of people, like we have to get together and
stay together, right?
Stay together.
Gotta band together.
Leave the ego behind.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely ego has to be dropped. Yeah. And we have to, make up our minds that we're going to do this for one goal, right?
Absolutely.
One common cause, and then move forward. That's how I feel about it. Next.
That's it.
Oh, we wrapped it. Oh, how do we do? Not bad.
Thought you was rushing us. Yeah, I was skipping the numbers and.
And then we did good. Yeah, you had some interesting questions today.
Let's try to.